like to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart. I'm your host, and I'm joined with my good friends. We got Jeff Locke, Sam Ancho, and Zach Miller. Fellas, today I want to talk about giving or sharing. One, because we're in the season where we're meeting with a lot of our clients right before the season's really about to kick off, and we get to hear the places and the people that they really, really want to bless. And it just got me thinking about just, it's always important to give. And you guys have heard me say this once, you already say a million times, that I believe that giving in itself is great because it unlocks the grip of greed. And I don't know very many people that are as generous as all of you guys in terms of your time as well as your talent and money. But Sam, you're definitely one of the more generous people. And so I'm going to start with you. Why is giving in itself important to you?
Giving is important to me because I saw the benefits of giving from an early age. I remember seeing my parents when we would go to church on Sundays. This is back before smartphones, et cetera. And they'd pass around like the offering deal. And I'd literally see my mom and dad get out money, a couple dollars, whatever it was, and put it in the offering plate. And that's one way to give. Okay, a visual for a little kid of, okay, why are we giving our money? But take it out of a religious context or a church context. Every summer, both mom and dad are doctors. Every summer, they would go to Nigeria and they would give of their time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, with other doctors, nurses, surgeons, dentists, ophthalmologists, pharmacists, and would go and do free medical mission work. It would turn down or close their business for a while. They would go and not get paid and just serve people. And they would always come back more full. And so from a young age, I'd see my parents give and I saw what it did to them. And then all of a sudden I got a chance to get a little bit of money or even more time or more abilities and skills and wanted to give those away and saw that, man, when I give, I actually receive so much more than I gave. And so as I'm getting older, I want to model that same type of experience to my children as well. Good.
Zach, as an NFL player, how do you go about thinking and preparing about giving?
Well, I think having clarity on your money is super important here, because myself as an NFL player, like I didn't have that. No one advised me or helped me to give the right way. So only money I gave as a player was to family. And so now I have a donor advised fund. So and it helps because then I don't have to know exactly who I'm giving to right then and there to actually be giving or using kind of my giving plan. Doesn't have to have like, oh, I got to give it to this person by this date. So that helps. And then, like you said, I want to be able to show my kids like how important it is to have giving as a part of the plan. So their job is, their homework is to go pick who their like allotment. So 6 members of the family all have to pick their cause that we're going to give to. And so that's what they do, because I want to establish something that I didn't do much as a kid or even in the NFL.
Jeff, so Zach mentioned it, like when most of the time what happens is somebody needs something, I give it. That happens with a lot of athletes. Somebody needs something, I give it. Is there a point where it's not the best decision to give money?
Yeah, the analogy I like to think of is anytime you go on a plane, right? They say in case of emergency, put your mask on first before helping others, right? And that's what you got to think of in your financial plan. Like if you're not squared away with what we talked about before, your O-line, your protective reserve, if you're not squared away with taking care of yourself in case the worst case happens, you might not be in a spot at that moment to give, right? So like it's got to be part of your total plan, how much you can give, when you can give, and how to give, which we'll talk about here coming up.
Good. When I think about giving, I think about it in 3 ways. I've always taught it this way: time, talent, and treasure. You got to be able to give your time to people. It's important. And that is giving. And as NFL players, your time is very, very important. So when you give your time to people, that's important. The talent, you're giving your talent completely to the organization that you're at. But a lot of our guys are running camps. A lot of our guys are training. A lot of guys are constantly giving their talents to other, and then their treasure. Because they have so much treasure, they want to give it away. They want to bless the people around them. And there is a plan for it. And so, Zach, you mentioned a donor advised fund. So not to get to the details of that, but what is the best way to give when it comes to my treasure?
Well, I mean, if you want to maximize your impact and influence, you'd be a fool not to use the tax code to your advantage. And so you can give 15 to 50% more money to a cause, a charity, if you're going to use appreciated securities. And so an easy way, like I mentioned, was a donor advised fund. You can benefit on your taxes, which just means you get more of a deduction. So now you can give more. So you're increasing your impact and influence. And then if a donor advised fund isn't the right fit, which it might not be for your cause or who you're trying to impact, then you go evaluate fiscal sponsorships. And then if that's not it, then your own foundation, which Sam, you can talk about a little bit, but it's if you have a certain mission and it doesn't exist elsewhere, then that's when you go from the donor advised fund to your own foundation possibly. But you got to have kind of the budget of giving going forward, how about now and going forward, for that to financially make sense. And the other thing, like if you're not making a ton of money to be able to give and make a huge impact, it's like you mentioned, the guys give time for the camps back into their community that they want to impact or influence. That can be some of the best way, because then you get people rallying around you that then donate their money, their capital. So you're actually making an even bigger impact than just your time alone.
That's good. Sam, how often should I give? I mean, should it be something I do once a year, weekly? Does it matter? I mean, what kind of advice, wisdom would you be able to share?
My advice would be, it depends on who you are. And here's what I mean by that. I remember when I was coming to the NFL, I've shared this story before from a different perspective of people said, hey, Sam, you're this and you're that. When you get to the NFL, don't let the money change you. And I said, okay, well, I don't know if it's going to change me. I've never had this kind of money before, this kind of fame. And in a mentor of mine, he said, hey, Sam, money and fame, it's not going to change you. It's just a magnifier. It'll magnify who you already are and what you already do. So what I would say is if you're already a giver by nature, you don't have to wait until you sign a huge contract to say, okay, now I'm going to start giving money. Man, start giving maybe little pieces here and there. Maybe there's a charity you care about. Maybe there's a nonprofit you care about. Maybe it's your time. Start small, because as you grow, your giving will grow. And I would say if you're on the other side of the pendulum, the other side of the coin, you're like, I don't really give. I don't really understand the point of it. I would just say try to get around people who do, or maybe understand a little bit more, right? The donor advice fund, there's so many tax advantages when it comes to giving. You could actually give more. I think about not even money per se, but time. In Chicago, when I was with the Bears, we got a chance to build this food mart in a place that was a liquor store, a place that was actually a food desert, 2 grocery stores, 17 liquor stores, and a half-mile radius. It took 4 years, but that building that was a temporary food mart, we turned it from liquor store to temporary food mart to permanent food mart. So now it's providing real hope in a community. And I got a chance to see it firsthand with my own eyes, step foot on that place that was just a dream, was just a vision. Now it's a reality. And I don't know if there are words that can describe that feeling. And so for those who say, well, I don't really understand the point of giving, I don't want to, I would say just get around people who do. Show up to your teammate's charity event. Show up to your teammate's football camp. Show up to your teammate when they're going in the community. Some of the best players out, the Hall of Fame guys, they did stuff on their off days in the community, at homeless shelters, at hospitals, etc. So get around those guys and watch the success that'll follow.
That's good. Jeff, wrap us up. When it comes to planning, how should an NFL player do his planning to give and to be generous? Because there's not a client we have that doesn't think that they should give and doesn't want to give. They all want to make an impact. Zach said it best, influence and impact. So how do you plan that?
I think the key thing to think about, what you just said, is it's a plan, right? It's not like in the moment someone hits me up, right, and it's time to think about, hey, I got to give a bunch of money because I'm stressed and I got to do this, right? Plan means you've thought about it ahead of time, right? So like we spend a lot of time with our clients talking to them, like, what is your giving plan for this year? What's your giving plan for next year? And then we might hold you to it, right? When we see things going off plan, that's different than what you said, because in the heat of the moment, things happen, people ask for things. Doesn't mean you can't do it, right? You just got to think about the actual plan. So we think how much makes sense for you, right? We think how to give. Zach and Sam talked about, does a donor advised fund make sense? Does it actually make more sense to donate stock directly from your accounts? Does it make sense to give from your checking account? And then it's, who do I give to? And you should have an idea going into a year or into a couple year stretch, like, what are the causes I actually care about and who am I willing to give to? And the tough thing is, who am I not willing to give to if they do hit me up and I'm in the heat of the moment and something's going on? So we have those conversations all the time with our clients of like, does it actually make sense to give? And are we changing our plan? And if we change the plan, it's okay, but we want to have a conversation about it.
Be cheerful giver. Giving is great. It's good for the heart. It's good for the soul. There's influence and there's impact. I'm hearing you say, Jeff, saying yes to be able to give is a great feeling, but also to understand that no is also a complete sentence. So appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions, any thoughts, or something we said, it spurred something in your mind, like what's this donor advised fund? We would love to give you guys resources and answer your questions. So please reach out. You can text us at 602-989-5022.
The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision.